This was the first lecture organized by Maharshi Dayanand Saraswati Chair. But by that time, there was some problem in audio-visual system. So this lecture could not be recorded properly. So now we have tried, or we have made an humble attempt and requested Ashwini Bhai just to uh, deliver his speech again. And I think I'm happy that this time we have some new viewers and the audience. We have new persons. Earlier, we did not have this audience, I think. So before we start with the lecture of Ashwini ji, I would invite Pandit Satyananda ji to recite certain mantras of the Vedas for the inaugural of this lecture.
Thank you very much, Professor G. Can we all clasp our hands, close our eyes as we seek to imbibe the knowledge of the great Rishi in our hearts. And as we pray today, we pray that may God guide our intellect onto the right path, and may He also inspire our intellect so that we may always excel in our endeavors. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Sahana Avatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahe Tejas Vinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Samgajadvam Samfadadvam Sanvo Manasi Janatam Deva Bhagam Yata Purve Sanjanana Upasyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, Pandit Satyananda ji, for this beautiful recitation of the Veda mantras. And before we start this session, I would like to say a few words about Ashwini Rajpal ji. He is the director of International Foundation for Vedic Science, established in Canada. And since last many decades, he is working for the propagation of the Vedas and Vedic scientific knowledge throughout the world. And in this connection, he has visited India several times, and he has his several friends all over the friends and fans all over the world. And for the last 15 years, he is working with me on the Vedic calendar system. And in fact, he is one of the co-editors, and most of the work that I do, he is just rectify that because there are so many mistakes. Now he has become an expert of the Vedic calendar, and today he is going to deliver his talk on Vedic calendar and astronomy. I hope his talk will be able to give a new idea or will be able to make us understand about the ancient this knowledge of calendar system, how the ancient Indians or the Vedic people, they used to do calculations, time calculations, and they used to make calendar. So now I invite Ashwini ji just to start his talk. Ashwini bhai.
Namaste, Swagatam. I'm happy to see so many of you from India, Mauritius, Netherlands, Wales, US, Canada, with us today for this lecture on the Vedic Hindu calendar, and Indian astronomy. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can put it on the chat. And there is also going to be time at the end of the presentation for questions. Now, let me share my screen.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I said, the lecture is on the Vedic Hindu calendar. It's also known as the North Indian calendar, or it's also referred to as the Panchanga. Now, most people use this calendar, which is known as the Gregorian calendar, or the Christian calendar, or the Western calendar. And one of the things that we use on this calendar, we use the year 2021. But we use it without thinking that 2021 denotes an era. It's not a time measurement. It's an era of a person that was born 2021 years ago. You have to keep in mind three things. A calendar is not based on a particular person, place, or event. Secondly, it doesn't speak of a particular race, religion, or region. And lastly, and more importantly, it is based on the movements of the heavenly bodies, planets, stars, and our galaxy. I might add that even a lot of us, we also use the Vikram era, and we do not know about the Yuga eras or things like that. And keep in mind, the Vikram era is just that. It's an era. It's not even based on the time of birth or the time of death of King Vikram. That era started in 57 BC, and it was when King Vikram was made, or Nepal came under his control. He was already ruling many parts of India, but Nepal came under his control in 57 BC, and that's when he decided to start that era. So while it's good that he was a great individual, but we have to remember that the Vikram era is just that. It's an era. Now let's look at some of the differences between what the Vedic calendar and what we know as the Gregorian calendar. The Vedic calendar, it's science-based, based on astronomy, whereas the Gregorian calendar, it's a church-based calendar developed by the Roman Catholic Church. The knowledge of the Vedic calendar was given to us in the Vedas, whereas the Gregorian calendar was introduced in 1582 by Pope Gregory. So, and it was only adopted by England in 1742. Sorry? So it was adopted by England in 1752. Prior to the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar was in effect, and that was started in 46 BC by Julius Caesar. One side note here, until 1582, Europe was not familiar with the concept of zero. And that's one of the reasons why their calendar underwent so many changes. Now, one of the things with the Vedic calendar, the day starts at sunrise, and that's because sunrise is an astronomical event. It's a science-based, whereas on the Gregorian calendar, the day starts at midnight. There's no science behind that. Okay. The Vedic calendar is a lunar solar type calendar. It's based on the harmonization of the lunar and solar cycles. Whereas the Gregorian calendar, it's mainly solar based. And again, this is namesake only, as it does not start from any of the sun signs. The Vedic calendar, that knowledge was handed down to us 1.96 billion years old, whereas the Gregorian calendar is 439 years old. Now, the Gregorian calendar, New Year starts on January 1. But again, there is no science behind New Year starting January 1. Whereas with the Vedic calendars, the years are computed from the beginning of Dakshinayana, which is, for us in the northern hemisphere, it's the summer solstice. For people in the southern hemisphere, that would be the winter solstice. Now, you may ask yourself, why did this Vedic calendar started from Dakshinayana, or the summer solstice? Well, there are 4 reasons. First of all, the years are measured by the solar cycle on this calendar. Secondly, June 20th is the beginning of the solar new year. Thirdly, creation commenced on this date. And lastly, this calendar was started at the time when India was located in the southern hemisphere. Now, let's look at some of the benefits of the Vedic calendar. It keeps track of time and dates. It assists with the Sankalp for yajnas. It helps yajmans with the Ritvik Varana, that's the welcoming of priests. It aids in naming of newborns. It tells us the exact time and dates of parvas or festivals. It records events in our itihasa or Puranas. It determines exact age of creation. And in the Vedic system, there are 3 types of creation. There's the universal creation, there's the biological creation, and there's the human creation. This calendar, as I said before, is based on the science of astronomy. And that's the Sanskrit word for that is Jyotisha. Now, some of the Vedic principles are being used by other systems. For example, the word hour and 7 days a week. These are two concrete proofs that astronomy originated in Bharat or India. Now, I will expand on some of these in later slides. Now, what I want to do now is want to explain about Indian festivals. Let me start out with first Makara Sankranti. That's a solar festival, and it's mainly celebrated in India. I don't see any evidence of it being celebrated outside of India, but it's celebrated on January 14th every year. Now, let's look at the meaning of the words Makara Sankranti. Sankranti is when the sun transitions from one sun sign to the next. And Makara is the name of the solar month. So Makara Sankranti should be the beginning of when the sun transitions from into Makar, the month of Makar. These days, Makar starts on around December 21st, but we're still celebrating it on January 14th. And the reason behind January 14th, because that was the day almost 1700 years ago when the beginning of Makar was on January 14th. Now, sorry, I want to show you an example here of a sankalp that's done at the time of a puja or the time of a havan, and I've underlined the dates and place and months and things like that are variable information. This was done in April of 2019, and this is just, a very simple sankalp. But the one I want to show you a lot is that is not used too much these days is the Ritvik Varanam. This is when you invite a purohit to do a sanskar, a puja, or a havan, and upon his or her arrival at your place of that sanskar or puja or havan, you have to greet that purohit with a lot of respect and welcome him to your place and ask him to a seat. And this is what the Ritvik Varanam is all about. And these are the prayers that this is the ritual that goes with that. Now, we will now look at the Lunar Festival. Most of the festivals that we celebrate are lunar. Makara Sankranti is an exception. That's a solar festival. But how do we determine when these Indian festivals Well, first of all, you have to find out or determine the month, the lunar month. Then you have to know the tithi or the lunar day. Then you have to know the end time of that tithi. And then you have to know sunrise that is prior to the end time of that tithi. Now, something that's very important is that all of the above are as per your local time. Festivals will be on days where sunrise appears before the end of the tithis. So let's give an example. For example, Mauritius is an hour and a half time difference between India. And let's say a festival in India, the end time of that tithi falls at 7 a.m. and sunrise is at 6 a.m. So in Mauritius, then that would be the previous day because of the time difference. All right, and I'll show you some more examples here. Let's look at Maharshi Dayanand Saraswati Jayanti. It always falls on the same date of the Vedic calendar. It's on Falguna Krishna Paksh 10, the 10th day of Krishna Paksh. Now, on this year, on the Gregorian calendar, that was Monday, March 8th, 2021. But look at this. In North America and Caribbean, it was the day before, Sunday, March the 7th. Again, that's because of the tithi. Another example is Mahashivratri and Dayanand Bodh Utsav. It always falls on Falguna Krishna Paksh 14. Again, that was on Friday, March 12, 2021. But in North America and the Caribbean, that fell on March 11th, the day before. Now let's look at some other festivals. And let's look at Holi. Holi always falls on Falguna Purnima. This year, that fell on Sunday, March 28, 21. Now, something I'd like to give an additional point here with Holi. Holi is derived from the Sanskrit word holaka. Holaka means grains. So Holi is an agricultural festival, okay? And it's a separate festival from Pag, which is a day later. That was on Monday, March 29. Pag is the festival, Pag means colors. So Pag is the festival of colors. So Holi is an agricultural festival, Pag is a festival of colors, and they're only a day apart. Another festival we celebrate is the Lunar New Year. It always falls on Chaitra, Shukla Paksh, first day of that Shukla Paksh. This year, that was on Tuesday, April 13. Again, the next one is Arya Samaj Foundation Day. It falls on Chaitra, Shukla Paksh 5. That was on Saturday, April 7. Now, there's a lot of confusion with this date. And this date was taken from a letter written by Rishi Dayanand himself to a friend of his in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Now, sorry, I didn't finish. Ram Navami always falls on Chaitra, the 9th day of Shukla Paksh. That's again this year, Wednesday, April 21st. Raksha Bandhan falls on Purnima of the month of Shravana. And Krishna Janamashmi falls on the 8th day of Krishna Paksh in the month of Bhadrapada. And Deepavali falls on Amavasya in the month of Kartika. So again, I'd like to state that observance dates on festivals in India are not necessarily transferable to outside of India. It's dependent on the Tithi end time and sunrise. Okay, here is a page from the World Vedic calendar that Dr. Ravi Prakash and I are involved in doing every year. And if you look on Ram Navami, as I said, it was on Chaitra Shukla Paksh 9. So over here, it corresponds to the 21st of April. Okay, and for those of us who do not know Hindi, the upper part with the Brahma era and the Srishti era, on the next page you will see the English here. But over here we have the Vedic solar months that I mentioned before. We have the sunrise time. We have the sun sign. Okay, and this is where, as I said, when you look at this calendar, it will tell you that Makara starts on December 21st over here. And of course, these are the lunar months and lunar days over here. Okay, and these are the end times of the Tithi. This is the second page of that. This is a bit small. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to, I don't think came, but we, over here on top page here, we have a running time frame of Brahma era, which is the creation of universe, the Srishti Samvat, which is the biological creation on earth. We have the Manvanta era. We're in the 7th Manvanta. It's we are 120 million years into that. We're in the Yuga era. We're in the 5,122nd year of the 28th Kali Yuga. We have the Jupiter year. We show the Vikram era. We show the Saka era. And the reason we show that's been adopted by the government of India. We have the Christian era, and we have this Sikh era in here. Okay. We also show the moon signs here. We show the constellations or nakshatras, the names of them, and the end times. And over here, we state the festivals, events, and anniversaries. And as you see, the corresponding date of April 21st, we have Ram Navami here. Okay. We also include things like when the 28th Treta Yuga began. So that corresponded to May 14th of this year. We also, for those of us in the Indian diaspora, we also show Indian arrival dates for different countries. And in this example, you have Guyana St. Lucia. And of course, we have the giantees of famous people like Ganga. We have Bhishma's mother from Mahabharata. We have her that fell on May 17th. Okay, now this is where I want to start with the actual time calculation, but I want to bring certain things to your attention. Of course, this slide shows you Earth's orbit around the sun. Okay, and it tells you the time frame, and it gives you an idea of the lighted part and the part that doesn't have light. For example, in this time frame here of March 21st, you can see the southern hemisphere gets a lot of sun, and when it moves down to September 23rd, it doesn't get too much sun and so forth. One of the important things here, it shows this tilt. I think pretty well all of you know that Earth is not at exactly perpendicular on its axis. It's on a tilt. It's a 23.5-degree tilt at this time. Now, it's important to note that this tilt was even mentioned in Rig Veda. There are two places in Rig Veda that this tilt is mentioned, 1.110 and 10.894. Now, this tilt is also the reason for the different seasons in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, because in the people living along the equator wouldn't see the differences. They only have two seasons: the sunny season and the rainy season. But us in the northern hemisphere and people in the southern hemisphere, we see different seasons. Now, one of the things that that our rishis were able to calculate based on study of and observance is we're able to calculate that the rotation of the Earth on its axis was or is 1,600 kilometers per hour. And as it orbits the sun, it does that at 100,000 kilometers per hour. Now, let's look at the apparent paths of the sun. You saw that on the slide before. When it starts, when winter solstice starts, we see on December 21st, the sun is seen the furthest south of the equator. And that is known as Uttarayana. And when it's on June 20th, it's seen in the furthest north of the equator. That's known as Dakshinayana. Now, the reason I use the word apparent here is because a lot of the people are under the impression it's because of the sun's movement from north to south and south to north, but that's not so. As you can see from the previous slide, it's because of Earth's movement or orbit around the sun. Now we will talk about time, and time cannot be measured by the birth of an individual, whoever he or she may be. The importance of time, or in Sanskrit, it's known as kala. It gives us a sense of sequence of events, past, present, and future, or chronology. Time is available to all. We can utilize our allotment effectively. We do not subscribe to irrational notions. For example, world coming to an end soon, and then there was an example about 6-7 years ago. There was a pastor in Florida that was telling us that of this. So, and we get a better understanding of ourselves and purpose. And Rishi Dayanand says time is eternal. Now, how do we measure time? Okay. The measurement of time, or the calculation of time, or reckoning of, or in the Vedic system, the Vedic reckoning, it's known as Kala Ganana. Now, let's look at the smallest unit of time. The smallest unit of time in Sanskrit is known as Shruti, and that's 33,750th part of a second. Okay. Now, the fourth smallest of it unit of time in Vedic system is known as asu, or prana, and that's equivalent to 4 seconds, and that's equivalent to the length of breath to a healthy person. Another, and I'm only giving you some of these. It's by no means all the measurements. I'm only giving you some samples here. Another sample is another measurement of time is day and night, known in Sanskrit as Ahoratra, or it's equal to 24 hours, or the Earth's rotation around its axis. Ahoratra comes from 2 Sanskrit words, aha, meaning the lighted part, and ratri, meaning the dark part. And this Ahoratra was later developed into the Hora system, which was a degenerated form. And then the English word hour evolved from this Sanskrit word Hora. As I mentioned in a previous slide, Hora was one of the systems that in use today, or it's known as hour. And this is how it evolved. Originally as Ahoratra, it got degenerated into the Hora system, and it's now known in English as hour. Again, this on the previous slide too, I mentioned about the week, the 7 days of the week. Well, in the Vedic system, the 7 days are named after 7 planets: the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Because these planets influence the atmosphere of the Earth the most. These 7 planets are described in Vedas as 7 lokas. And the Vedic rishis remember these 7 lokas during their daily prayers as Om Bhu, Om Bhuva, Om Swa, Om Maha, Om Jana, Om Tapa, Om Satyam. Another measurement is the month. And we have 30 lunar days in a month, and we have an average of 30.44 solar days in a month. So they have to be synchronized. But Veda has told us that for months, moon has to be used as the measurement. And I'll give you the quote from, not the quote, but where you can find that in the Rig Veda. And we also have the solar year that's used as a measurement. Right now, it's 365.25 days, then that's how long the Earth takes to orbit the sun. We also have the longest possible unit, which is known as Brahma U or Mahakalpa, and that's equivalent to 311.04 trillion years. But I'll explain that calculation a little later. Okay, I mentioned in the previous slide that the orbit of the moon is used as the measurement for months. The word for month is masa, and it tells us in Rig Veda 1.105.18 that moon is the maker of months. Can I ask you to mute your microphones, please? Okay, thank you. So it's based on moon's revolution around the Earth, and that takes approximately 29.5 days, and that's the orbit between the 2 new moons. However, orbit is irregular. Therefore, some days our tithis are long and some are short, and you may have seen that on a previous slide. Names of lunar months are determined by the nakshatra or the constellation at the end of Purnima of the said month. For example, month of Chaitra falls on the Chitra nakshatra constellation. And this is how it works out. The bright half of the month is known as Shukla Paksh. The dark half is known as Krishna Paksh, about 15 days. During Shukla Paksh, the moon waxes. During Krishna Paksh, the moon wanes. When the bright half ends, it's known as Purnima. And when the dark half ends, it's known as Amavasya. Now, just going to show you the orbit of the moon around Earth. So when it's new moon, Amavasya, it's in red there. And when it's waxing, it's known as Shukla Paksh. That's the bright half. On full moon, it's known as Purnima. And the dark half is known as Krishna Pax, and that's the waning part. Now let's look at the months of the lunar year. You have 12 months, Chitra, Vaishakha, Jyeshta, Asadha, Shravana, Bhadrapada, Ashwina, Kartika, Margasirsa, Hosa, Magha, and Falguna. So the lunar year starts with Chitra, it ends with Falguna. Now, you saw before that we had a difference between the lunar month and the solar months. So to make up that difference, there is a system called Adhika Mas or Malla Mas, or in English, we know it as intercalary. And pretty well all of you are familiar with intercalary, because on the Gregorian calendar, there is a intercalary every 4 years, known as leap year. We insert 1 day into the month of February to make it February 29. So this is the same concept. So after 32 months, solar months and 15 days, 1 extra lunar month, or as I said, Adhika Masa, is added to the calendar due to the difference between the lunar and solar months. And this is the reason that Deepavali and other festivals occur later every few years on the Gregorian calendar. Now, I'm going to proceed now to the longer measurements of time as per the Vedic system. And this I'm going to explain the Yuga system. The Yuga system starts with a 5 year period. And the reason for that 5 year period is because the sun and moon meets in Dhanishta constellation or Dhanishta nakshatra. Then we also have a 12-year Yuga cycle, and that's mainly because Jupiter orbits the sun in 12 years, and Jupiter plays a very important part in our calendar. And it also, that 12-year cycle also celebrates the Kumbh Mela that happens every 12 years, because this present Manvantara started in Kumbh Rashi, and that's why that Mela is named Kumbh Mela. We also have a 60-year Yuga cycle, and again, that started with the conjunction of Jupiter and the moon and the sun meeting in Dhanishta constellation or Dhanishta nakshatra. But here are the yugas that are more important and are lengthier. By the way, yugas are known in English as conjunction. So the way I have it on the screen here, this is the order of appearance, or not appearance, but the measurement. The Satya Yuga is done first, then Treta, then Dwapar, and then Kali Yuga. Now, you may ask yourself, what's so important about these yugas? Well, in Kali Yuga, one conjunction of the planet, of all the planets, they all meet in Ashwini constellation or Ashwini nakshatra every 432,000 years. So in Kali Yuga, that happens once. In Dwapara, it happens twice. In Treta, it happens 3 times. In Satya Yuga or Kreta, it happens 4 times. Now, we are in the 5,126 year of this Kali Yuga, which is in the 28th Mahayuga. Present Kali Yuga started on Friday, September 5th, 3102 BC. And that happens to be in the lunar month of Bhadrapada in Krishna Paksh 13, when all the planets were housed in one zodiac sign. Now, it's interesting to note that this time was also supported by French astronomers, Sylvain Bailly and Leverrier. Now, I just want to quote something here from a book, Theogony of Hindus by Count Bornstema. On page 32, I'll read the last line that was that the author quoted Mr. Sylvain Bailly. The calculation of Brahmins is so exactly confirmed by our own astronomical tables that nothing but actual observation could have given so correspondent a result. One other interesting point is Rig Veda was compiled with 432,000 syllables to represent the very astronomical basis of the Yuga system. Now, interesting enough, I made a note here. We saw a good example of a conjunction in December. I don't know how many of you got a chance to look at it, but when Jupiter and Saturn was lined up with the sun, that was a good example of a conjunction. Now, here's another length or measurement of time, and this is called Kalpa. It's known as 1 day of Brahma. And what is Kalpa? Kalpa is one revolution of the Parameshti Mandala. That's in English, or galaxy, or the Milky Way, around the Swayambhuva Mandala, or the super galactic center. How do we calculate this? Well, we know that from the previous slide that 1 Mahayuga is equal to 4.32 million years. So, and each Manvantara is equal to 771 Mahayuga plus 1 twilight or transition. So a Kalpa is calculated as 14 Manvantaras plus 15 of those twilights or transitions. And the Sanskrit word for that is Manusandhi. And each one of those twilight periods and Manusandhi periods is equal to 1,728,000 years. When you do the math, you take the Mahayug times 71 Manvantara times 14 and the 15 twilights, and you do the calculation, you get 4.32 billion years. Okay. Now, keep in mind, as I said, this is length of one kalpa or one day of Brahma. So one night of Brahma will be of equal duration. So a day or a night of Brahma will be equal to 8.64 billion years. Now, this slide will show you where we are currently in present Manvantara. So we have in this Manvantara, as I said before, each Manvantara has there are 14 for each kalpa. So we are here in the seven Manvantara here. Now let's calculate the age of the universe based on what we have seen so far. Brahma era, or it's known as the Vedic era of universal creation. That's the time when this universe was first created. Up to this point in time, it's 155,521,972,949,122 years. The Kalpa, or Srishti era. Now keep in mind that this is just the Vedic era of biological creation on Earth. It's 1,972,949,122 years. Human creation started 12,096,000 years after that. Now, you have to remember that chronology of ancient Indian history can only be factually ascertained when these yugas, Mahayugas, and Manvantara cycles are taken into account. Other systems are guesstimate. For example, Archbishop Usher had said the universe was created on the 26th of February 4004 BC. And a lot of writers from that faith, if you read their writings, try and frame world history into that time frame. So, cycle of universal creation. As I said, the day and night of each day and night of Brahma is equal to 8.64 billion years. There are 360 of those in a year, and there's 100 years to each cycle. So that gives us 311.04 trillion years, as I stated in a previous slide. Now, I want to show you some evidence of some of the things I showed you in this presentation. Here is an article I know it's a bit small, but what it's saying that they have found fossil evidence of worms of over 1 billion years. And this was found in Madhya Pradesh in India. There were 2 scientists involved from a university in the Netherlands, and I'll give you their names in a few minutes, in the next few slides, and to tell you. So what is happening is we are getting new evidence that are coming closer to the Vedic calculation of time. So, and this is one example. Here's another example. Australian astronomers say that they have found the oldest star ever recorded. And this was from an article back in 2014. And they said that that star was found, that was 13.6 billion years old. Okay. Again, so they're coming closer and closer to the Vedic time calculation. So I'd like to start my conclusion. This is not the first, nor will it be the last creation. There was never a first. There will never be a last. Cycles of creation and dissolution are known as Srishti and Pralaya. Oh, again, this is a cycle, so it repeats itself. This slide here, I want to give you a visual of some of the things that are used mainly in the Vedic time calculation system. We have the moon, it's orbiting the earth, and that's known as Chandra Mandala. We have the earth orbiting the sun, it's known as Prithvi Mandala. We have the sun orbiting our galaxy, that's known as Parameshti Mandala, and we have our galaxy orbiting the supergalactic center, that's known as Swayambhava Mandala. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the other 2 onto this slide. Now, how did we maintain this system of measurement, of calculation? Well, the rishis developed a system of sankalpatha, and from the early days. And this is an example of that sankalp. And that's why I showed you the slide previously of pretty well the same one that's used at the beginning of any sanskars or puja or any havan or any prayers at the that's done at sunrise or sunset. This is a sample of that sankalp. I'd like to conclude. This is our heritage for those that accept the knowledge of Vedas. It's our responsibility to preserve it by learning, teaching, and supporting its propagation. And I'd like to give you a quote from Pandit Gurudat Vidyarthi. Pandit Gurudat Vidyarthi was a very scholarly person, not only in Sanskrit, but also in English. And he used to baffle the British when they were ruling India with his mastery of the English language. Astronomy is one of the sciences that is necessary to obtain the true meaning of the Vedas. I'll also give you some other famous quotes. Rishi Dayanand: "It was known to Indians that the earth was round and that the earth, sun, moon, and stars were in motion." Emmeline Plunkett: "They were very advanced Hindu astronomers in 6000 BC. Vedas contain an account of the dimension of the earth, sun, moon, planets, and galaxies." And Adolf Salashar and P.K. Bose, scientists: "1 billion-year-old fossil proved life began in India." These are the two scientists that found that evidence of life, of bio-life, that's over a billion years in Madhya Pradesh, India. Now, a source of these Vedic eras, solar months, days, lunar months, and days, constellation, and festivals are all found in this World Vedic calendar. It's available through Amazon.com, or if there is another website in your country that they have, you can get it from them. And I'd like to say that if you found that this presentation was is of value not only to yourself, but it could be of value to other groups, you can contact me, and I would be happy to do this presentation. And this is my contact information. And I would like to thank you for your participation in this presentation. And as I said, we will take any questions, if there are any in the chat group, or if there are any any questions now. I will stop sharing my screen, and Dr. Ravi Prakash Arya will answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwini Bhai. And it was a very nice presentation. And we also thank our audience who gave a patient hearing to such a very important but very difficult subject. And it's a very dry subject because it involves mathematics. So now the house is open for questions. If you want to have any questions regarding this presentation or any other thing regarding Indian time calculation system, you are most welcome.
नमस्ते जी, हमारा नाम है क्रिएशन धर्मवीर. Can you please explain the twilight a little bit more? The twilight transmission, what it really means?
Actually, twilight transition means some period. If you pass from one phase to another phase, it takes some period. And that period is known as the twilight time. Just like if some season you are entering from a spring season to the summer season, so that time when it exactly you are not going to enter into the another season, but till certain extent the previous season is going to follow you, and after that you enter into the another season. So that this period is known as a transition period or the twilight time, sandhi period. Just like sandhya we do. Sandhya means when the sun is setting or the sun is rising, the night is going to end. So that period is known as a Sandhi Kala, and that Sandhya Kala, that is known as a twilight period or transition period, we call it.
Okay, but the twilight transition period, is it full daylight or just a little bit dim light or something like that?
No, as regard to the Yuga system or the Manvantra system, the twilight period is equal to one Satya Yuga. When you are entering from one Manvantra to the another Manvantra, because that is a big period, around 30 crore years or 300 billion years. So that period, that is equivalent to one Satya Yuga or 70 lakh 28,000 years. But your million system, I'm not able to actually. What will be? Ashwini will tell that 70 lakh 28,000 years. How will you say?
But by 70,000
Yes.
70,000 lakhs.
1 million years like that, no? 1.72 million years.
Yes, 1,728,000 years for the transition or the Manusandhi or twilight period.
Yeah.
By Dharamvir, two important things happen too between each Manvantara cycle, and the world order and the polarity of the earth is reversed.
Yeah.
So all that happens during the Sandhi, the Manu Sandhi, or the twilight, or the transition period. So east goes to west, west goes to east, and then the poles are reversed the polarity of the earth is reversed. So those are things that happen during that transition period. So it doesn't happen in days, it happens in years. And in this case, it's 1,728,000 years.
Okay.
I think there's a question on the chat here by Ravi.
Yeah, chat. Let me see. When Uttarayan was on January 14. So this is also one of the questions. In fact, today Uttarayan is taking place on 22nd December. And you know, when Earth, it moves or around its axis, it is wobbling. It is wobbling just like the the wobbling is top. If you play the top, it starts wobbling. Similarly, the earth is wobbling, and due to this wobbling, the precession takes place. Precession takes place means every 1 degree, it takes 72 years to precess the earth. Means to go backward and backward like that. So this precession from 14th January to 22nd December. So it is around 23 days precession is there. And if you multiply 23 by 72, it will be around 1700 years back. So the Uttarayan, it took place on 14th January around you can say 400 AD or 499 AD. And by that time, this precession was zero. Now it is 23 degrees.
May I ask a question,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
Yes, namaste. I wanted to ask a question about Dakshinayan, and I think the slide regarding, I think Bhaji said that New Year starts when Dakshinayan begins.
Yeah.
Could you explain that a bit more? I don't quite understand that.
Yeah. It's a very peculiar question and very important question. What happened? because Indians, they were doing calculations. We were doing calculations. So we were doing these calculations from the point of view of our location on the earth. If you have studied geology or geography, you might have studied there the theory of the plate tectonic theory. And according to that plate tectonic theory, the Indian part of the land, it was quite adjacent to the South Pole some uh, crores of years or millions of years back. And by that time, Australia and Africa were also attached to the Indian part of the land. But due to its rotation, this earth, because the cracks came in the earth due to falling rains and all, and then these old oceans were created, and due to this rotation of earth, these land parts, different plates of the earth, they are moving, and this Indian plate is moving towards northward, started moving to the northward, and now we are close to the Indian plate is close to the Karka Rekha, or the line of Cancer. So when we were located at the southern hemisphere, then we used to start the day by Dakshinayan, because the sun used to be sun used to be perpendicular at the southern part of the earth, and because we were there, so for us the biggest day would start when it was Dakshinayan. But now we are in the Uttarayan. Uttarayan means on the Karka line of Cancer. So for us, the biggest, the maximum sunlight will start when the Uttarayan will take place, and the vernal equinox, similarly this equator, when the Indian part was located on equator some million of years back, we used to count the year from the equator itself. So when the Indian landmass used to drift from south to north, we use different time scales. Dakshinayan, then equator or the vernal equinox, what we call, and now the Uttarayan. So this whole system is going on like that.
Okay, so Yugadi would be celebrated still depending upon the calculation, but not on June the 20th.
We get references in Vedas, and because Vedas are quite old, so those references point out this situation or location of the earth in the southern hemisphere. And what Ashwini Bhai told, that in a mantra period, the polarity of earth is also changing. By that time, when we were located in south, the north polarity was in the south itself. The south pole was the north pole. And now this polarity, it came towards the north pole. And this theory has also been vindicated by the researches in geology and geography. And this is how the whole system is changing, and we are not able to understand how it is all going to change, this circle.
Can I just ask a last question, and then I'll let somebody else ask a question? Could you explain the theory of ice age and flooding in between yugas? Does the Vedic theory agree with that? That there have been ice ages along the way?
Is also described in the Vedic system after one manvantra. When you go from one manvantra to the another manvantra, the flooding takes place. Why the flooding takes place? Because the whole system of the earth, it changes, the polarity changes, and that is why the ice melts. And where it was the ice earlier, it would have been water, and where there was water, it would have been the ice, due to this polarity of uh, 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 Earth's polarity and so many factors. And due to the slide or drifting of the Indian landmass or the Indian place to different parts. So that also shows there were some floods are reported and somewhere this system is not reported. So it all happens due to the geographical or geological reasons.
Dhanyavad.
Yeah.
Dhanyavad.
Okay, I see there somebody wants me to go over the calculation again on the age of the universe. Okay, so let me just share my screen again.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay, so what we did here on this slide is we've calculated 1 day of Brahma, or one Kalpa. So as we saw in a previous slide, 1 Mahayuga is equal to 4,320 years, 320,000 years. And then 1 Manvantara is equal to 71 Mahayuga plus 1 twilight or transition. And 1 Kalpa is equal to 14 Manvantaras plus 15 twilights. A twilight or Manusandhi period is equal to 1,728,000 years each. So this is 1 Mahayuga times 71 times 14. And then the 15 twilights or transition. When you do the math on that, it equals to 4.32 billion years. Now, keep in mind, this is a day of Brahma. So a night of Brahma would be the same duration. So a day and night of Brahma will be 8.64 billion years. Okay? Now, the next slide, where did I get? Okay, so on this slide, at the bottom here, okay, so we have 8.64 billion years, and that's equal to 1 day and 1 night of Brahma. There are 360 days of Brahma in a year. And then there's 100 years in the life of Brahma. So when you do the math there, that comes up to 311.04 trillion years. That's the cycle of each universal creation.
Yeah, let me also comment, because just like a human life is equal to 100 years, the Veda mantra says, Shatam Shunuyam Shatah, like that, na, for 100 years we should hear, for 100 years we can see. Just like the 100 years is the average age of a human being, as described in the Vedas, similarly, the age of the universe is also 100 Brahma years, 100 years of the Brahma. And 1 year of the Brahma is equal to 8.64 00 into 360. So, and 100 years, you will have to multiply 100 to it. And that will come out as 311 trillion years. So this is the whole cycle of the universe, 311 trillion years. And once a human being goes into the moksha, he remains till the rest of the period. When the new creation cycle begins, then he takes birth as a deva or as a rishi, enlightened person, and they start everything. Uh, they start doing or teaching everything to the rest of the human beings, and that is how the Veda is created in the beginning. All these seers, Brahma, Agni, Vayu, Aditya, these seers, they were the seers who lived in moksha in the previous creation cycle. When they came first on the globe, they revealed the whole knowledge, this knowledge of the creation, to the rest of the human being, and they gave the entire knowledge system to the human beings. That is why we are mentioned, or we are told that everything started from Brahma or these previous rishis.
And the the time since from the creation of this cycle of Brahma to now is equal to 155.5
Yes,
trillion years.
almost
Up to,
half of the time has gone.
yeah. Okay.
So if anybody has any question,
Okay, yeah, there's one on the
What is
chat.
there is
There's
one
one.
question here. When were the 7 days started? Is this 7 days week is as per Vedic system of calendar with regard? Yes. Actually, 7 days is quite inconsistent with the Vedic system of calculation. There are the 7 planets which are influencing the life on the earth most. And what happens? The first day starts with the rise of the sun. So the Sunday or a Ravivar is calculated to be the first day. And an hour has 24 hours. So when you calculate the 24 hours of the Sunday, when the 25th hour will begin, the next day will begin, and that falls to the moon. So after Sunday, the Monday is calculated, and this is very scientific. We can show it on the slides, through the slides. All the Ashwini Bhai has not given its illustration in some of my lectures. I will show it that this sequence, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's very scientific and based on Vedic system of calculation. And this was highlighted first in Arya Bhattiyam, as well as in Surya Siddhant also gives the inkling about how the weekdays should be calculated. Weekdays for Earth. Similarly, if you want to calculate the weekdays for other planets, the same system will apply. There will be many creations. This is the one. There is another question. And the question is, so no more creation after 311 trillion years? No, this is the one cycle. After the end of the one cycle, the another cycle will start. As Ashwini Rajpal has shown in his slides, it's a continuous process. When the creation ends, it's the rise will start, and when the it will the rise will take place, the end will start. Just like if something is created, it starts depreciating at the very moment, and when it is depreciated, then it is created again. So this is a cycle.
there's another question there.
Creation exists until the existence of the sun. How far is that true? No, no. Creation doesn't until the existence. Our sun is only the sun, and we have billions and trillions of the sun in the whole of the universe. So, with the end of our sun, you can say that our universe may end, but not the other universes in the cosmos.
Well, we don't have any more questions.
Yeah.
What the day of Brahma on one night? What does that have to do with Kalpa and Mahakalpa?
Yes, yes, yes. Day of Brahma is one kalpa, and day of Brahma's night and day that is equal to two kalpa, and the 100 years of Brahma that is known as Mahakalpa. Those 100 years of Brahma, 300 trillion 11 years, that is known as Mahakalpa.
That is when the universe comes to an end.
Yes, one cycle of the universe.
Restart.
One cycle.
Okay. And Ashwinji has mentioned about the transition of the sun. Does the sun really move because of the tilting of the earth?
Sun is not moving. Transition of sun from one zodiac sign to the another sign. How it takes place? When the earth moves around the sun, the certain part of these 7 lines are there on the earth. One is known as the line of Capricorn, that is the 23.5 degrees south of equator, and in the middle is the 0 degree, that is equator, and to the north of equator is 23.5 degree north, that is known as the line of Cancer. When earth moves around the sun, it takes a round. What happens? The sun reaches at the northernmost point on 21st June. Northern post means Earth's northernmost point will be lighted by the sun. Sun will be perpendicular at the line of Cancer. But after that, the sun starts sliding towards the south. So that is known as a Dakshinayan. Similarly, when sun will be perpendicular at 23.5 degrees south on 22nd December, and after that the Earth's northern hemisphere starts coming towards the sun, and that Earth's northern hemisphere coming towards sun, that is known as Uttarayana. So that is the transition. These lines have been known as Rashis, zodiac signs. That is known as Makara Rashi, and that line of Cancer is known as Karka Rashi. So there are 12 Rashis in between, and this whole system it can also be illustrated with a different slide, and sometime I will give a different lecture on these this system, so that it may become quite clear to you people, because it's a very difficult and typical subject.
According to the Vedic days, it said the day begin with the sunlight when the sun comes up.
When sun
so the days are never the same equals.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's more hours or more minutes or seconds add to it or
Right.
reduced from it.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the day is always not 24 hours. One day, when you say daylight, I'm talking about.
No, 24 hour is the same, because this Earth's rotation, it is going like that. But the years or the seasons, they may have some differences. And due to the ecliptic part of the Earth, because that is not round, that is just like the egg shape, elliptical is there. So due to that, the difference of time takes place.
He was talking about the tithis. the end of the Tithi, but I don't know if I ever saw the beginning of what time it begins.
Tithi,
Yeah, the Tithi.
you should know, Tithi is based upon the moon's revolution around the earth. When the 0 degree is known as Amavasya, and after that when moon moves 12 degrees, so every 12 degree make one Tithi. So when moon is 180 degree, from 0 degree to 180, that is known as Purnima, full moon day. And after that, it comes to the same 0 degree. So difference of 12 degree in moon's movement, that is known as one Tithi. So Tithi is a separate calculation that is based upon moon, and the day, solar day, is a separate calculation that is based upon Earth's revolution around the sun.
And
Yes, maybe somebody else can ask a question.
there are two questions on the chat.
Will Bharat always remain the birthplace of all mankind throughout the cycles of the creation? No, we cannot say, but in this cycle, India is the birthplace. And when the next cycle will take place, who knows where the birth will take place? Wherever the seers of the moksha will take birth on the earth during that period, that place, that landmass will be the birthplace of humanity. And maybe it is known by some other name, maybe not known by the name of Bharat. And another question, will all rishis in future cycles of creation will be born in? No. We have given this landmass. When this whole earth was created, this landmass, the Indian landmass, including Tibet, it was called as Bharata in Vedas. Similarly, in the next creation cycle, whatever landmass will be used by the seers, that will be called as Bharata. Bharata means the people who were busy in gaining knowledge in the beginning of the universe. Bha means knowledge, Prakash, the light of the knowledge. So Rata means who is busy gaining the light of the knowledge. So that landmass will be known as Bharata or India, but it is not, we can't say anything that the same landmass will be there. So it will be the different one, but wherever the humanity will take place, the birth of humanity will take place, that will be known as Bharata. So the next question is that after 100 days of Brahmadin, then it is the 100 Brahmaratris. No, we have already told Brahmaratri and Brahma Day. We have already calculated. 4 billion years is Brahmaratri and another 4 billion years is the Brahma Day. So day and Ratri, just like we have 24 hours, 12 hours day, 12 hours Ratri. So our whole day includes 24 hours. Similarly, Brahma's day includes the 2 kalpas. One kalp as a Ratri, another kalp as a day, and after 100 days you can calculate 100 days also. You multiply that 800 billion years by 100, that will be the 100 days. But here the whole age of the whole universe is 100 years, not the 100 days. I think you are confusing between 100 years and 100 days. So 1 year of the Brahma will be equal to 8 billion years multiplied by 360. Just like we multiply 360 and we make 1 year of the earth, similarly the 1 year of the Brahma will be 8 billion years multiplied by 360 days. What does the twilight mean? Twilight means Sandhi period. The period joining a transition period, when you pass it from one phase to another phase, that is known as a sandhi, that is known as transition or twilight period. Twilight, you just see on the earth, twilight takes place, twilight hours, the evening and morning. When sun sets, that is also one of the twilight time. When sun rises and the night starts fizzling out, that is also one of the twilight hours. So similarly, when one phase ends and another phase of the creation starts, or manvanta starts, or the yuga starts, or day or night, this twilight is between day and night. Similarly, the twilight is between one manvanta into another manvanta, one season to another season. So everywhere the twilight is there. What about human and other species living on the earth? Human beings originated around a Treta Yuga period after the creation of biological life on the earth. Biological life took place around 1 billion and 970 million years after, but the human beings, they originated about 1 million and 960 million years. So these species, these are all distinct species, but here the Darwin's theory is not going to apply. A human being, as per his sanskara, he can be born as an animal, as a bird, or as an insect, till trees, as a plant also, as per his sanskara. If you have good sanskaras, you will be again born as a human being. If you have the animal like sanskaras, whatever sanskar you accumulate in your mind, that become the seed for your next life. The Vedanta darshan says sanskar bijata srishti. This sanskar is the seed of your life, just like the seed of the tree has the information of the entire tree. Similarly, a human being's sanskar keeps the entire information of that human being, whether he is going to be born as an animal being or a bird or some insect or some lower species. These all lower species, they are known by the word naraka, hell in the Vedas. And the divinehood, the divinity going towards moksha is known in Vedas as a Swarga Loka or divinity. So if you are going to Naraka, means lower species, that will be determined by your sanskaras. So another one question, can I ask if Vedas agree with the existence of the dinosaurs? Vedas, they have not particularly mentioned the existence of the dinosaurs, but Vedas are not refuting this theory also. According to the Vedas, all, all animal beings or the living beings, they will take birth on the earth as per their sanskaras. Earlier on the earth, there were four tusked elephants. Now only two tusked elephant is there. In Ramayana, there is a mention of four tusked elephant, Chaturadanti. But now only two tusked elephants are surviving, and those four tusked elephants, they have become extinct some 15 billion years ago. You just see, and the Ramayana's period is around 18 million years ago, as per the calculations mentioned in the Ramayana itself. So this takes place. The some species, new species will born, some species will become extinct, and this will continue. In twilight, another question is there. In twilight, is it that the earth enter the sea for two Kali Yuga and come out of the other two Kali Yuga? For your kind information, the water is 70%, and this land mass is only 25%. So that this earth is always floating on the sea. There is no question of submerging into the sea. So it is already floating on the sea, but some parts of the earth, they will become inundated because the ice will melt. So that melted ice will inundate the earth and some parts will become dry. So some parts of the earth, they will appear for humans to transfer, and some part will merge in the sea. So this will continue. The whole earth is not going to submerge into the sea. It will happen partially. So partial flood has been mentioned in our Puranas, not the total flood.
I think
I
that's
just can I say one thing more?
Yeah. Yes.
According to creation, what has Kal and Akal to do with creation and Brahma Day?
No, this Kalpa and Brahma there is nothing to do. But it is the units. It is the units to describe that period. Just like we say din, raat, weekdays, month day. So this is one of the units. These are the technical terms just to describe that cycle and nothing else. But
What
their
about
period has been fixed. If sun, our sun is also moving, it is also revolving around the galaxy, our galaxy. And that period, the sun takes to complete one revolution that is known as one Manvantra. According to the modern scientists, sun is taking around 25 crore years, means 250 million years to take one round, but according to our seers, it was taking 310 million years to take one round of the galaxy. So the difference, this difference may be defined or described. Either the modern scientists, they have calculated the ecliptic path of the sun smaller, or something has happened. So our galaxy is also not stationary. It is moving around the super galactic center, and that when it our galaxy when takes one round, completes one orbital around the super galactic center known as Swayambhuva Mandal, that period is known equal to one kalpa. So these are the terms just to describe the whole system of creation.
okay?
there's another.
Namaste, Acharya ji.
Yes,
So how the dissolution of the existence of the creation occurs? Can you please give some clarification? Thank you.
yeah, no, I couldn't make out. Can you please repeat?
Uh, when you are saying so many trillion of years of existence, I
Yeah,
wanted to know how the dissolution of the creation
yeah.
happened.
Okay, what
Thank
happened?
you.
Actually,
Yeah. How?
yeah. I'm just explaining. This
Thank
is
you.
this is the natural process. This is the natural process when something takes in the time period, a particular time period is taken for the birth of certain things. The similar time period is taken for its decreation. If 155 years, 155 trillion years have taken till date, and our creation on the earth started only 1 billion years ago, so the whole process, you can divide it into half of the system. So this is the natural process, and under this natural process, the creation and decreation takes place. Swami Dayananda also points out that this is within the nature of the Brahman or the Parameshwara, that he will create this universe after certain periods. So this is an automatic system going on, creation and decreation. So we cannot say that certain things is going to cause decreation. This is in the very, this law of nature is known as a rita. It is called rita. What is decreation? When this whole material world will convert into the atomic form, that is the recreation, no, decreation. And when those atomic form of matter will manifest into the grossest form, that is known as creation. So this is a cycle, and that atomic matter is known as karana, the cause, upadana karana, or the material cause. And this Brahman or the Parameshwar, he is known as the efficient cause. And we, these Atmas, the souls, they are known as the simple cause. Just like the potter makes a pot on the wheel, so that wheel, or no, that mud through which he is going to make the pot, that is the instrument or the material cause of the potter. But the potter is the efficient cause. If the potter is not there, then who will run the wheel? So the potter is the efficient cause. And whatever he uses, that some stick or that wheel and stick that he is using, those are the simple cause. So similarly, this creation and decreation means going into the atomic form, which is not visible. So the atomic form world is nitya, it is eternal. And this grossest form of the world is anitya. It is not eternal because it has to disappear.
This you mean the matters are still here, but we can't see the gross form. It is
No.
like an auto dissolution, you would say it like that?
Yes, it is the micro form or atomic form. And atomic form world we are not able to see. So this creation and decreation is regarding this material universe. But if you will talk about the creation of human being or living being, so there the another rule applies. The rule applies of the sanskaras. Whatever you have accumulated in this life, that will become the seed for your next life. So accordingly, you will take birth. So when the new creation cycle will come, when the new universe will be formed, as per your sanskaras, because during decreation, we got submerged in our atom, our soul was there only. Na? So soul is also atomic form. So soul is existing during decreation along with its mind, which is accompanied by the sanskaras. When the new earth when the new earth universe will take place or created, the souls as per their sanskaras will take birth as a human being, as animals. But first of all, only the divine souls will come on the earth and they will set the whole norms and the knowledge system. Then the other souls will come thereafter. So this is the whole system described in Vedas as well as by Swami Dayanand and even other Puranas and other Granthas. This whole theory has been described like that.
Thank you, Acharya ji. I have another one question. Can I ask?
Yes, yes.
Okay. When I was asking about the twilight, you mentioned that through inundation, like climactic change, sea level, water will rise, and they will go up above the earth. Then I was thinking about the Manvantara, the time when Manusya lives on that earth. Then after the sea level go down, then what happened to these species? They will generate generations after that.
Oh,
Manvantara means
In Manvantara, certain parts of the earth will be inundated. I told you, the whole earth is not going to be submerged, certain part. So that generally the living creatures or the beings, they will be shifting from one part to the another part. So that shifting take place, but we cannot say that whole life is going to be uh, uh, extinguished. We cannot say like that. So the life, the sign of life will remain, and the people, they will shift from the safer parts, safer regions, just like from this Indian part, the whole population, it shifted towards different parts of the earth. Even old Indians, they inhabited these European lands, these African lands, and all these things. Just like some 150 years ago, the people went to Guyana, they were shifted to Guyana and Suriname and the other parts. So this takes place. But total extinction of the humanity or the life on the earth is not going to take place. It will take place when the earth will become a deserted planet, a desert planet. But presently, earth is a living planet. It's not a desert planet because it had lot of this heat in its womb in the form of these reactions, fusion and fission reactions. We see lot of lava is coming out, and this eruption is taking place. So the earth is a living planet. When its whole heat will be out, then it will become a desert,
Luke's
and no
birthday.
life can survive on it. So I think there is no more question.
There might be one last question on the chat there.
Okay, chat. Yeah. Interpretation of Noah's Ark, the most resistant species lived on the upper region of the earth. Actually, this Noah's Ark is nothing, but it is, this story is associated with the story of Manu, the Manu's boat. Manu is known as Noah in a corrupt form, and this story is available in Brahmana Granthas also, in Puranas also. The story tells the same thing, that certain part of the earth became inundated, and the Manu, he crossed over to that the safer part of the land, and there not only Manu but all the human beings, they shifted to that part. So this Noah's Ark is related to the story of the Manu himself. Just like what happens during Krishna's time, during Mahabharata's time, some 5,000 years ago, the Dwarika submerged into the sea. And when the Dwarika submerged into the sea, the descendant, the people of Krishna in Dwarika, they shifted to different regions, and those Yadavas, in fact, it is said that they are known as Yahudis, the Jews of the present day. These Jews, they are the ancient Yaduvanshis, and one of the Jew scholar, Jewish scholar from USA, he told me that they have the concept in their tradition of Radha and Krishna. Radha, they call it as Rhodes, and Krishna is like that. He was just talking to me, and he gave me a writing, in writing also some paper, that they belong to the race of Yaduvanshis. When Dwarika submerged and the people, they migrated to different parts, so they also reached to Palestine and other parts, and they inhabited those lands. And so the Indians, they used to go out from India at different periods, and they inhabited different parts of the earth.
Okay.
One question, Acharya ji. One last one. How strong, if they are the effects of the planets on the human species?
Right, right.
Thank you very much.
You know, we have seen the effect of the moon. You know, the high tides and the low tides. When moon is closer to Earth, the high tides will take place. Means moon is going to pull the waters on the Earth towards itself. So similarly, these planets are having effects on your body. Some chemical changes may take place, but these effects are not like that the astrologers talk about, that you will become rich, you will become poor. No, some health problems you may have, some other uh, problems in your body, they have that type of effect, but they are not going to change your fortune, they are not going to make you rich or poor. So the color combinations, certain planets have certain colors. Suppose certain planets are rich in sulfur, when they will be closer to Earth, they are going to affect our bodies, the sulfuric uh, ratio of our bodies, and those systems may generate certain diseases or problems.